Here is a video glimpse on daily life in ancient Rome. So let's start from the working day. Romans usually rose early and usually worked a 6-hour day. So the working class was composed by freemen and freedmen, so ex-slaves. And so they had work for the whole morning. For example, they could be part of the import business centered in the harbor of Rome at the mouth of the Tiber in Ostia, where goods from overseas were coming, unloaded, checked, and stored in the warehouses, as you can see in the pictures, before transferred to barges for the journey upstream up to Rome. Then another very important industry was that of building. So this needed a continual supply of skilled labor in the form of architects, foremen, surveyors, supervisors, sculptors, stonemasons, carpenters, and brickworks managers. Then the markets. So in cities, wholesale and retail markets operated. Then craftsmen plied their trades, and then there were little shops, taverns, and inns doing their businesses. Then all these activities were supplied with raw materials and foodstuff by the agricultural estates, so another important activity in the Roman world. Sons usually followed the trades of their fathers, and apart from the army, the only respectable callings for the upper classes were law and politics. So many professional posts in fields as architecture, medicine, surgery, dentistry, teaching, and agricultural management were held by freedmen, so again, ex-slaves. So the fora, or markets, because the main square took the name from the market, the original use of a square, were both meeting places and centers for public or private business. So very important in Roman cities. After work, a visit to public baths was customary for the average Roman, as well for women and men. So they were going there to take care of their person, so exercising and having baths, from hot baths then to the final cold bath. So this was customary because many persons hadn't at home running water, so to clean themselves they needed to go to the public baths. But the public baths for this were meeting places, very important in the social activities. Education. So at the beginning of the Republic, education was left entirely to the parents. And boys were expected to emulate their fathers, as girls their mothers. Then from about 250 BCE, because of the influx of educated Greek slaves, tutors were employed in richer homes and were set up as teachers of informal schools. Towards the end of the Republic, evolved a two-tier educational system. leading to higher education in oratory, so the art of speaking, very much required for the political career, and philosophy. At about the age of 7, children of the privileged classes were sent to primary school, often presided by a single teacher, where they were from dawn to the middle of afternoon, and where they learned reading, writing, and arithmetic. Girls as well as boys could benefit from this basic schooling that took place in premises designed as shops, with an open front on the street. Pupils sat on wooden benches and wrote out their exercise on wax tablets, which they rested on their knees. How the Romans dressed themselves? The dresses were very simple. Were made only in wool and to a lesser extent in linen. Needles were of bronze or bone, and thread only of the coarsest quality, and so stitching or sewing was neither elegant nor effective. So buttons and buttonholes were rare, and clothing was fastened or held together by very big safety pins or belts or knots, or not at all. As underwear, both men and women wore a loincloth knotted around the waist, then on top of that, a belted tunic that could have short or long sleeves. The outer garment, the most important, there was the toga for men and the paia for women, was a standard formal dress. It was simply a vast blanket that was draped round and over the body, leaving usually one arm free and probably held together only by its own weight and its folds. The paia, the garment of women, was rectangular in shape. The toga probably was in the form of a segment of a circle, and along the straight edge could run the purple stripe for the toga of senators and highest magistrates. Then these are replicas of Roman sandals or shoes, and some hairstyles. So they had fashion too. And so according to the period, especially women, but also men, had particular hairstyles. Food and drink. The ordinary Roman could not eat a lot of meat. The army diet was balanced, so they ate wheat. The soldiers themselves ground and made it into porridge, bread, and biscuits. Then they could eat some meat, usually bacon, fish, poultry, cheese, vegetable, fruit, salt, olive oil, and raw wine. Officers, for sure, did rather better. At home, porridge and bread were the staple food of most Romans, and many of them had to rely on the corn door for their needs. If Romans wanted to eat outside, there were places as the one in the picture called Thermopolium, where hot and cold drinks were sold. Wine was the national and natural drink. Usually was diluted with water because it was very strong. The beer was only for barbarians, Britons and Gauls, And wine could also be mixed with honey to make a kind of aperitif called mulsum, accompanying the first course at dinner. There were public restaurants, and we have examples of them in Pompeii and in Ostia. Let's talk about the Roman house. The patrician house was called a domus, a house in the cities. After that, you crossed the threshold, a hallway led into the atrium. The atrium was a spacious courtyard that in early antiquity was the earth of the house. Later, the center of domestic life passed to the inner garden with a porch running around it, called the peristyle, that you can see in the picture. The atrium became the formal reception area for guests and clients. In the center of the courtyard, there was a shallow pool called impluvium for collecting the rainwater that came in through a hole in the roof created for this purpose that was called compluvium. Then this open part of the roof had also the function of giving light to the space below it. The water drained from the impluvium into the compluvium ran into a cistern beneath it, from which it could be drawn using a well. After the city was connected to the aqueduct, the impluvium became only a decorative element. The bedchambers were called usually cubicola, were opening off the atrium, as did the service rooms and the living and dining rooms. Straight back from the entrance was the tablinus, the former drawing room, which was closed off by a curtain or a foldable door. Later, a room was created just for dining called the triclinium. So then there were winter and summer triclinia. The summer triclinium was outside under an arbor and was refreshed by fountains and the play of running water. Everything then in the house of the richest was embellished with decorative elements, so mosaics in the floors, painting on the walls, furnishing and decorative objects, statues, fountains, and the play of running water. A simple and smaller type of house inhabited by the more modest social classes consisted of an entrance hallway flanked by two cubicola, so two rooms, an open central courtyard from which another hall flanked by rooms led to a hortus or vegetable garden, which may have had a little porch too. Finally, there were the houses of the small merchants, located usually behind their shops, which had balconies used both for storage of merchandise and as living quarters. Then in Rome, there used to be the insulae. Insulae meaning islands, but today we can call them blocks. They were in fact, blocks of apartment houses up to 6 or 7 stories high. But they were fire traps with no running water because fires were lit inside the houses. So after the Great Fire in Rome under Emperor Nero, destroying 3/4 of the city, the emperor restricted the height of these insulae, these blocks. But even if an insula didn't burn, the insulae might collapse from bad construction. Light usually was coming from openings we refer to as windows, although they wouldn't not have contained panes of glass, but only shutters. So this is only a glimpse on the life of the Romans, but hope this could open a new interest and curiosity to you.